Welcome back. Let's turn our attention now to the state of Karnataka, where the Siddharth government is considering withdrawing primary and secondary education department circular that had prohibited the wearing of the hijab in classrooms in schools and pre-university colleges in the state of Karnataka that were government run. Now, the Karnataka Cabinet Minister, Mr. Priyank Kharge, categorically stated that all those orders and legislations enforced under the previous government which are against the state's interest or are against the constitution would be revised. The reaction came in response to Amnesty India's appeal to the state government demanding an immediate revocation on the restrictions of the wearing of the hijab in government-run educational institutions. However, when D.K. Shivkumar had been asked a question about this yesterday, he was evasive in his responses, saying that the government will take a final call.
Any bill that brings a bad image to the state, any bill that is not of use for the economic activity, any bill that does not create employment, any bill that violates the rights of an individual, any bill that is unconstitutional will be reviewed and if necessary rejected. Like I said, every executive order, every GO or any bill that is counterproductive, that is unconstitutional, that violates the rights of an individual will be reviewed and removed if necessary.
I don't know in what context they have opined, I don't know really. We will see in future what best we can do. Right now we have a different agenda. Right now we have promised 5 guarantees that has to be fulfilled to start with. Later on we'll see all that.
The Bharatiya Janata Party has slammed the Siddharth government over even considering the possibility of such a decision and called it appeasement politics on the part of the newly formed Congress government in the state of Karnataka. They've claimed that they'll only end up taking the state backwards. Now, former Chief Minister Mr. Basavaraj Bommai called the present Karnataka government a reverse gear government not working for the upliftment of society.
The matter is in the Supreme Court, and I don't think any prudent government will roll back when the matter is in the Supreme Court. And if still they want to roll back, then Supreme Court will interfere. Not only Supreme Court interfere, it has got its own repercussions. I think Chief Minister is aware of it and he will take very justful decision.
So you think?
And they should not do anything in the haste.
People are trying to get out of all this thing, even in the Muslim countries. The Congress party, time and again, they are so used to appeasement politics. They want to somehow divide, create confusion, appeasement. This is the culture of Congress.
भाजपा सरकार यूनिफॉर्म के फेवर में था. आज उन्हें स्कूल में भी यूनिफॉर्म नहीं पहनना ऐसा सोचना है तो ठीक है. कुछ लोग स्विमिंग ड्रेस से भी आ सकता है, ऐसा उनका सोच है. ठीक है, बाद में क्या होगा स्कूल में देखना. उनके मन के हिसाब से सभी उस अलग अलग ड्रेस पर स्कूल पर आएगा तो सत्ता उनको कांग्रेस का हाथ में है. कुछ भी कर सकता है, ऐसा उसके मन में है तो करना. बाद में क्या होगा पता होगा.
Well, let's take this across to our guest. Mr. Madhu Rao from the Bharatiya Janata Party joins us, as does Mr. Nikhil Jain, political analyst. Thank you very much to both our guests for speaking to Times Now. Mr. Jain, coming to you first and foremost, do you believe that Mr. Priyank Kharge has jumped the gun here? Because the Karnataka High Court had held the restrictions to be well within the limits of the Constitution, so they had upheld the Karnataka government order. The Supreme Court subsequently delivered a split judgment. Now the matter has been referred to a larger bench which is seized of the matter. So therefore, under such circumstances, was it a bit premature on the part of Mr. Priyank Kharge to say what he did?
So that's absolutely not. It is what policy that a government follows, whether it's education or something else. That is the discretion of the government. The court can only step in when it feels that that particular policy is violative of the fundamental rights or of the Constitution in general. When the BJP government came out with this hijab ban, people challenged it in the High Court, and the High Court felt that this is not violating the constitution per se. I would not comment on whether the High Court was erroneous or not in its judgment, but it is well within the rights of the government to withdraw a policy, even if it is not in conflict with the constitution. The Congress was very clear in its manifesto that we are a secular party and we're not going to entertain any communal forces, any communal policies, and that is what they're doing. It is completely the right of women, all women, to wear whatever they want. Of course, what the BJP General Secretary was saying, that they'll come wearing bikinis, and is an absolutely absurd, regressive and sexist remark. Nobody comes to school wearing bikinis. But if a Hindu woman wants to wear a Ghoonghat in school, or if a Muslim woman wants to wear a hijab, that is perfectly within their right. And I don't believe that the state has any business stopping them from doing that, especially so when you do that, you are restricting a lot of minority girls from getting education. And Pradhan Mantri, the Prime Minister himself says, "Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Beti Badhao, Beti Padhao, Beti Bachao." We need to be thinking about the women and the education and their education, and not be interested in these, issues to suppress or subjugate a minority.
Okay, let me take this across to the BJP spokesperson, Mr. Madhu Rao. Mr. Rao, the Supreme Court was, of course, divided on the matter. It was a split judgment, but one of the judges who actually ruled against the restrictions talked about the importance of the education of the girl child, and that a girl child, irrespective of whether or not she wears the hijab, should not be deprived of education. That was the stand of one of the two judges. The other judge, of course, upheld the restrictions. Now that the matter has been referred to a larger bench of the Supreme Court, do you believe that the Congress party has jumped the gun here? Would it be improper on their part to reverse the government order that was passed by the previous government led by the BJP?
Well, good evening. I think the Congress party, let it stop assuming power to itself. Point one. Let them stop assuming that they are the Supreme Court of India and they are the International Court of Justice. Be it as it may, there is a verdict by the Karnataka High Court where the plea by the children they were rejected. Yes. The matter went up to Supreme Court. Supreme Court, there is a split verdict. Fair enough. Now it is before the large bench. If prudence says whenever there is a matter which is sub judice, I think it is better to listen from the Supreme Court. I think, but for the Congress party, you can't but from the Congress party, you cannot expect anything better, because this is a party when they could introduce the word secular in 1976, when there was an emergency in place and no one was there in the parliament. This is the party we are talking about. And of course, you can expect anything from this Congress party. But one thing I can only tell, after coming into the government, after forming the government, they should first of all do the duties of the government. They have promised 5 guarantees. They are not able to give it. So they want to have some, it's a diversionary tactics. These are all. The reason is simple.
You raised an important point. Let me just very quickly take that across.
Therefore, they are going to do this appeasement politics, which they are best at.
You're saying this is just another attempt to deflect attention from the main priorities. Let me, in fact, go across.
They don't have any answers.
Yes, Mr. Jain, that's a pertinent point that's being made by Mr. Madhu Rao there, because the fact is that there were 5 promises that Mr. Siddharth and others vowed to implement in the first cabinet meeting. That cabinet is yet to be formed in terms of who's allocated what portfolio. And there's also division within the Congress. We didn't see DK Shivkumar necessarily agree with what Priyank Kharge said, or for that matter, even G. Parameshwara was evasive in his responses. So there appears to be no consensus yet over any reversal of the hijab issue.
So that is the beauty of democracy, that you can have different leaders in a single party disagreeing with each other, because each of them, let us all remember that every MLA, every MP is elected independently by his constituency. It is perfectly all right for MPs or MLAs of a single party to have divergent views between themselves. So far as the guarantees are concerned, the first meeting that the Chief Minister held, they did pass that we are going to implement these guarantees. So far as not taking back laws when a matter is sub judice is concerned, may I remind my friends on the BJP that when the farm laws were sub judice in the Supreme Court, the Narendra Modi government at the center withdrew those very laws because the people of India wanted that, because we had farmers protesting against that. And I applaud the Prime Minister for at once listening to people, even if it is after 2 years of relentless protest and after 700 farmers dying. Okay. So far as the introduction of the word secular in the Constitution is concerned, I should remind my friends from the BJP that the word Secular in the preamble did not exist before 1970. However, the Supreme Court in multiple judgments has reiterated, affirmed, and held.
I'm sure you're also referring to the Keshav Nanda Bharti judgment of 1973 where it upheld secularism as part of the basic structure. I need to get a final word in from Mr. Rao. Sorry, Nikhil, I just need to cut you short there because we're running short of time. But Mr. Rao, that's the rebuttal coming from Mr. Nikhil Jain. He said that the 5 guarantees are very much on track, and like you withdrew the farm laws, why is it that the current government should not be allowed to review the previous government's order on the hijab?
Welcome. All that I would say is only so much. We never brought these issues of appeasement during the elections, and now we are seeing the true colors of the Congress party turning into hijab, seeing into the cow slaughter, seeing into other aspects of Hinduism. They are showing their anti-Hinduism in these aspects. I will tell only Congress party, kindly, you are making an allegation of 40% against us. What? Just give me 30 seconds. What were they saying? 40% of 3 lakh crore, 1,20,000 crore. We will give a bounty to Karnataka. I will just fold my hands and say, please give that 1,20,000 crores to the people of Karnataka. Remaining things you can talk later. They are not able to perform. It takes 1 month for them to even form a ministry. I mean, this is the first time where the bungalows have been allocated first than even the portfolios.
Okay, Mr. Rao and Mr. Jain, many thanks for your perspective there. Lots of attention now on Karnataka over the kind of decisions that this newly formed government with a large mandate will actually take. Mr. Jain and Mr. Rao, thank you for your participation in this. We'll have to take a short break right now. We'll come back with more on the other side. Stay tuned.